remarks about what I was going to be the father of a friend of mine that I went. I certainly experienced that.
Sorry, Dad. Can I move the podium over here? So
Sure. Share with you skills and tools for you to start building your own real estate portfolio. And it's important because irrelevant how old you are now, time is going to pass. You're going to find yourself looking back one day, and you want to look at your net worth and where is it? Where have I been? And what have I got to show for it? If you make $100,000 a year, I can guarantee you'll spend $107,000. You may not do it in actual hard cash, you'll do it in credit. That's if you make $250,000, same story. You will spend to what you make. Takes off you. If you make $500,000, going back to the house that I bought in 1972, if I had kept that house, it could have been the cash source for your. They should have, but they never. It's $1 million deal to put you right back in the running again. And there's no reason why you can't sell 12, 15, 20 of those in a year. When I said be honest, it is a learning tool that you have to learn from. I understand that you have different aspirations in the home. You have different dreams. You have different needs. Your family needs are different. And I also understand that we're in a tough real estate market for sellers. However, you're not only a seller, you're also a buyer. What I'm going to suggest to you is that we look in the marketplace to find a home that really would suit the needs and dreams that you have for today. Because your life has changed, and you've come to the point where you'd like to make a move. That's why you can make that choice. You will sell it. It's a great tool to use. You're not being deceptive. You're not being doing anything illegal. But the public, builders, developers, and the public. Because if the builders are building houses, the public have houses to buy. If the builders are building many, many houses, it keeps the prices down. Because I remember an old story, a mentor of mine that took me to the market one day. And I wanted to buy some grapes. I wanted to buy some grapes for a cousin, one of his daughters, and he was in the hospital. So we went in there, into the marketplace. The first vendor that I saw, he had beautiful grapes. But the way we are researching, each depression before them, but each recovery has been much more surging than the one before. The current price of Toronto real estate homes today is what? About $1.3 million, right? If you want to transition into commercial type of real estate.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
A lot's worth $1 million. What are you going to pay into park fees? $50,000. That's a yearly wage for the majority of Canadians. Anyways, he's going to put a cap on that. He's going to exempt the community benefit charges. In some cases, development charges are not going to be applied. Huge. And this all transcends down into tools for you. Because if you're working with a buyer who wants to build rental housing or affordable housing or an apartment, when you think of an apartment with 100 units, the development charges on that are probably going to be about $10 million. Huge and sinful because it's government based. He says no, if you build affordable housing, no development charges. It may change, but that's what he's trying to put through. The approval process. This is a big one. Right now, if you want to bring forth a planning application, you want to do a rezoning or a proposal of some sort, and you bring it before council, and you bring it before the town, I should say, they're going to have a public meeting. Everybody within 200 meters is going to have a kick at the cat. And even if you live a kilometer away, you are allowed to go there and object. What's happened over the years with that? It's okay for you to do it down there. You've got his backyard, not behind mine. There's a whole slew of things that he's going to do. He's going to overrule the municipal authority over development. And I think it's high time. This transcends down into your business. And we will talk about how it will in a few minutes in a couple of areas. Here's one thing that you're going to be able to do. If you have a single family home, you can create 3 units on that home without paying development charges, without getting a rezoning, without getting, I think you still have to get a building permit to meet the code. But as of now, No development charges. Why? He's trying to encourage people to provide rental housing. So if you've got a single family home, here, you can do an apartment, or you can do a garden house. Or you can have your house, you can do a garden house with 2 units. Totally without anybody being able to say, no, you can't do that. Totally against whatever zoning bylaw is in place. You will be able to do that once this becomes legislation. What does that mean for you? It means a world of goodness. Yes?
Sorry, I have a question. And I could have misread this incorrectly. Does it have to be near like public, not public transit or like major public transit stations?
No.
No.
No. That's another bonus, which we'll get into as well.
Doesn't it, Brenda, sorry, can I interrupt you? Doesn't it have to follow, how do you get rid of all those crazy conservation people that want it this far away from a hydro, hyphen, whatever we call those, hydro?
There's a solution, municipal objection or impasses. Having said that, let me explain something to you. When you, let's take that case that's been brought to me.
Okay.
If you build another house on that lot, you mortgage each parcel. He's not saying that you can get a severance automatically. But what I can tell you is that, once something is built, that's 90%. The severance should be a lot easier. Should be actually more matter of fact. Now, what does that mean? Let me tell you what that means. Because if you use that bylaw in sequence, you do that first on the large lot. You then apply for the severance to create 2 parcels. Now what can you do? The buyer, you have to spend the money to build that. Of course you are. But do the math. If you spend, let's say, $150,000, $200,000 to add a garden home, you're not going to build a 3,000 square foot house, obviously. But if you build a garden home, let's say for rental purposes, and you do, I don't know, for small developments.
What agreement?
Great.
Site
Site
plan.
plan. Yeah.
That's a little building, 2,000 square feet, a very small, in Hamilton, for 13 months to get a site plan agreement. Now, COVID has been a great, barrier for this, because this is a fantastic tool for you to use. When I say study and learn your trading area, and I'm going to show you how to do it from the comfort of your own home, learn where the sell, build that lot to the maximum. It's not clear yet if they're going to allow you to impede or impose upon, let's say, the minimum yard setback. We don't know that yet. But in existing residential neighborhoods, this is allowed. Here are some of the public transit systems throughout the Gold Avenue, which I consider to be Yonge Street, all the way up to Collingwood. So learn where those are, because and all you have to do is Google it. And they'll tell you, it'll show you. What do we do with that information? Any property that is close in proximity to a public transit system, be it GO Bus or Via Rail, is a candidate for intensification. Fantastic news for us trading in real estate. Because if you have buyers or working with buyers who are in, let's say, in the multi-unit development end of the game, that's where they're looking. Who are your buyers? We're going to get into that. But this is, I'm not sure if this is GO Bus or Via Rail. This is the other, whichever it is. So learn where those are in your trading area. Scour that area. And as long as you have a clear path to that area, it qualifies. But you'll find that municipalities have what's called defined intensification areas where you can go up. And if you're in that business or have clients in that business today, the sky's the limit to how far you can go up. And if you do rental, if your client does rental housing, he is thirsty for this kind of thing. He is absolutely thirsty for this product, because if the legislation goes through as it is, they've just knocked out one huge expense and one huge cash flow obligation, because development charges have to be paid at the building permit stage. Imagine you want to build a 100-suite building, you got to pay $10 million just to get a permit. That's horrific. Know your forecasts. Read. Maria puts this out. Newspapers put this out. Be up to date. Don't let news flash you by, because news represents leads. Ontario's population is set to grow by 6 million people over the next 2 decades. At first impact, that doesn't do very much. 6 million people. Where is the heart of population growth in Ontario? We're living in it. The GTA, Toronto, up to Collingwood, Midland, even the resort areas, Muskokas and so forth. As far west as London, even Sarni's getting in the action. And as far east as Belleville, Kingston. And I will let you in a secret. The next gold rush in real estate is in southwestern Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from Oakville to Kitchener, Cambridge, London, is going to receive massive growth, massive. And if you want to buy, if you believe in what I'm saying to you, that owning real estate is going to be your future, those are the areas to look at. Those areas are set to explode. I'll give you one example, which I'm very familiar with, because I'm doing a lot of work there. Brantford, Ontario, Wayne Gretzky's hometown. It's experienced great population growth over the last little while. All the big guns are out there, the Congrades, the Metrosis, and so forth. And the Orientals own over 100,000 acres all around this county. They know what's going on. We're sleeping. But you can still buy affordable housing. You can still buy affordable land there. So don't cocoon yourself. Don't stay within, the area that is your comfort zone. March out of your area. Today, anybody living in Midland or Collingwood and so forth has no problem living, coming to work in the GTA. We've got a great transportation system, and it actually takes you faster to come from Midland down to the GTA than it does to take you from K-City down to the center of Toronto. And at least you're driving all the time. You're not falling asleep at the wheel waiting for the bumper-to-bumper problems that occur. So, go outside of your trading area. Go into the rural areas. Innisfil, look what's happening in Innisfil. Still time to buy in Innisfil. Alliston, Beaton, Tottenham, Bolton. Look in those areas if you're looking for yourself. Or if you have investor groups or investor clients that are looking to invest in real estate for rapid growth. When I say rapid growth, anything from 1 to 5 years. Sir.
Sorry, Bruno, how do you find out about those properties that are probably sitting, or that are just land, that are vacant, there's nothing on
Great
it?
question. I'm going to answer that.
Thank you.
All right, so that's what some people are saying. Now we're going to explode our population by 6 million people. What is it right now? 14 to 15 million. So we're going to grow by 1/3. Now, heaven help us with what's going to happen with gridlock. I mean, we have that now. We have 24/7 congestion on highways. And I don't know where you all live in, but in the GTA area, north of Major Mackenzie, all the side streets congested. They used to be, farmlands. Right now, those little 2-lane roads are in the morning lined up with one concession to get. Now, this is something you're not hearing in the industry. All you're hearing is, doom and gloom. Prices are going down. We don't know how much it's going to go down. The economists from the banks are saying, we're going to have the biggest price drop in history. BS. Because what's happening in the slowdown? The demand is growing. They haven't gone home. They haven't said I don't want to buy. They haven't said they want to rent. They had to accommodate wherever they could because they haven't been able to buy what they want to buy. But the demand is growing, and it's going to go to the point where it's going to burst at the seams. Experts say that in 2023, near the middle to the end, prices are going to reverse. Get ready. For those buyers who are hesitating, you want this screen? I'll send it to you.
I think they wanted to know what's the source.
Abby, thank God you're here. Sorry?
The source, and they wanted to know what's this, the source for this music. What's happening with the mortgage, what's happening with all those things, they're gonna
All
ask so many questions.
You bring up a good point. What's happening with the interest rates? You know, with the interest rates going up, the cost is gonna be higher and so forth, right? Okay, how many are distressed that our interest rates are now having between 5 and 6%? How many are bothered by that? Don't be afraid. Okay. A reality for you. My prediction is that we're gonna level out somewhere between 6.5% to 8%. Prime first mortgage rates. Is that high? No.
Not at all.
No. I lived through 24% interest rate.
Yeah, but the houses were much lower. Right now, there are still lots of,
Yeah, but it
foreclosure,
even
lots
is-
of
Yeah,
foreclosure.
yeah, still
Even
not
is
enough.
gone.
People,
I think people
they
buy
say they
$4.5
cannot
million
afford.
homes and stretch themselves to like, you know.
No, but
What's
that's,
the
yeah,
source
no, that's not
for
gonna happen.
this study that you showed us? It said the price of the houses is gonna go up in
Yeah,
2023.
but so that's a
What's the
specific
source
part,
for
it's
that?
a specific.
What's the what?
The source of that news.
Where'd that article come from?
What's the source? These are economists. These are people, these are experts who study trends, who study the cause and effect of things. So you either buy into it, or you can be an observer. I'm going to buy into it because historically I know what's happened. When we came out of a 24% interest rate, February 15th, 1985, I paid off my last 24% interest rate. Can you imagine on $100,000 you pay $24,000? I thought, the world, real estate world had gone down the drain. Look what's happened since 1985 to now. We are in for a price surge. Now, whether it is between the summer and fall of 2023 and onwards, it's going to happen. People are going to get used to it. You see, we push back about things that take us out of our comfort zone. Who wants to pay 6%? We want to pay 3%, even less. We were fighting to get 2.8 versus 3.5. It was a gift. It still is a gift. And people who say they can't afford it, well, they can afford it. They just don't want to afford it. But most people can't afford it. And don't be fooled by thinking, no, they can't. Yes, they can. Just that they don't want to give up their holidays. They don't want to give up their second car. They may, but what's important to you? What's important? Anyways, that's the source. Economists and experts who study this. This is what they're predicting. So, as I said at the outset, in tough real estate, residential real estate markets, commercial real estate flourishes. I want to share with you today ideas that are easily applied in today's market and easily applied in the business, type of business that you're doing today. That's why I'm not going to get into today into analysis of an apartment complex or industrial complex or a large piece of land and so forth. No, that's the future. But I want to give you something which you can use today to make your money today. Let's define commercial real estate. Some people think that maybe it's, the sale of an apartment building. They envision sitting down at boardroom tables, selling a major real estate investment. That's not what commercial real estate is. Yeah, it can be that, but the majority of commercial real estate is this. It's a transaction between a seller or a landlord and a buyer or a tenant, wherein the emotional motivation is for monetary gain or trophy, bracket, pride of ownership, and not necessarily for a personal residence, which sometimes even that is a commercial piece of real estate. So we want to focus on commercial real estate at the starting point, the most active. And if you look at commercial real estate, and I haven't got a slide for this, like a triangle, the major part of the commercial activity is in the bottom part, where the largest of transactions is occurring. The higher you go, the higher the sales volume. Now, where is it easier to make commissions? Sometimes people make the mistake of saying, if I sell a $30 million deal, I'm going to make 5% of $1.5 million. Reality check, I sold a $23 million piece of property between Bathurst and Dufferin in 2000 at 5%. What should that have given me? $1,150,000. You know what they paid? $300,000. Because the higher you go up the scale of volume, the harder it is for you to bargain your services. You know, they forget about how many numbers are in the deal. What, you worked in this for 6 months, you want to make $1 million? Come on. You want $300,000, $200,000? You want $100,000? Or what? Most transactions in that upper category are without protection. Commercial transactions in the bottom part of the triangle, where they're plentiful, are with protection because you work with agreements, buyer agreements or seller listings. And it's very easy to get 5% of a $5 million deal than it is to get 5% of a $50 million deal. You probably will make more money on a $5 million deal at those rates than you will at a $50 million deal, and how they're going to discount you. So, any questions on what we're going to talk about, what I'm defining commercial real estate as? Good. So, again, in people's minds, commercial real estate, they envision, I want to be in commercial real estate because it gives them this sense that, you know, I don't have to deal with the mom and pops and, you know, the issues that are raised, people buying homes and so forth. I want to deal with business people. You won't know how good you have it that you're dealing in residential real estate until you actually are dealing with one of those big real estate people deals. You know? So, apartment buildings, factories, large tracts of land, leasing complexes. So, it is all of those things. But if I was to do a workshop seminar today on those things, it's unlikely that it's going to make you any money today. I want to give you something that you can make money. A commercial transaction can be the sale of a single residential building lot to a builder. Or it can be a second or third house to an investor. Those are all around you. Small investors are all around you. So the distinguishing factor that classifies a commercial transaction is the presence of emotional motivation being for profit or a trophy, pride of ownership. Transitioning to commercial real estate is best done while you maintain your current residential activity, and I'm going to show you where in your established neighborhoods you will find commercial-based transactions. So if you really want to go into the commercial end of it, do so while you keep your residential activity going. Don't stop that cash flow. Don't stop that activity. And I bet you, I'm to notice that a lot of your current vendors or current clients are potential commercial clients. Who are the prospective buyers and where to find them? Well, we're not going to look for the big apartment owners or the big industrial owners and so forth. No, we're not. Here we're going to look right into our neighborhood. The small custom home builder. Anybody who builds up to, let's say, 25, 30 houses a year is classified as a small builder. Your small custom builder generally will build somewhere between 5 and 10 houses a year, or less. Where do you find them? Just drive around your neighborhood. How many have seen in their neighborhoods old houses being demolished and new ones going up? Come on, raise your hands. I'm sure you all have. And if you haven't, maybe you haven't been looking for it. Oh, there goes, too bad that we didn't. That is a small investor. We're going to go through how you make approaches to get them to be clients. Where else do you find them? Home Builders Associations. Download the Home Builder Association membership, and you'll get a slew of people, of builders who are building, who are custom builders or who are potential customers for you to work with. Ask your lawyer. How many have a lawyer that they do a lot of business with? Okay. How many have asked that lawyer for some referrals? A few. That's a source of business for you. that lawyer is counting on your business, you have every right to count on business from him. And it's just ask the questions. Look, I'm doing some commercial deals, you know, that I'm looking for some small builder or investor. If you have anybody like that, he'll give it to you. He'll give it to you. And what better referral than from your lawyer? Surveyors. Any builder, any small custom builder has to have a survey. He's got to stake out the lot, stake out the house, you know, do a final as-built and so forth. Those are your sources, your immediate sources. There are other ones, but these are the most prominent ones. Small developers. Well, your small custom builder is a small developer. He would love to buy a small parcel of land that he can, let's say, turn into 5 or 10 homes. So once you make the connection with that small builder building in your area or in an area that you want to work in, he is also a buyer for small parcels of land. Owners of tracts of land. Now you asked that question, how do you find those owners? I'll show you. Those people who have owned land for a few years, they've probably gone through the search cycle. That land is worth a lot more than what it used to be. If they sell it, they'll make a big profit. Or maybe they want to develop it. And maybe you should manage that development. Civil engineers. Anybody who is developing land needs an engineer. There's firms all throughout Ontario in your local trading area. Make a connection. And it's as easy as knocking on the door or making a phone call and saying, hi, I'm so-and-so from Coldwell Banker Real Estate. I've got a parcel of land that I think can be developed. I'm looking for developers in the area. I know that you're active in our area. Do you have any builders or developers that you can refer to me? They would love to refer to you because if that client buys a piece of land, it's going to make him more money. Surveyors also do a large part of the work for small land developers. We've covered those already. Investors. Who are the investors? Well, custom home builders are investors. They'll buy property if it's a good deal. Your small land developers are investors. Contractors. And there are, you know, plentiful. Just go to any site. You'll find carpenters, concrete people, drywallers, floor people, roofing people. Those contractors today are raking it in like never before. Ideal candidates to buy investment property. Your lawyer also has clients that you know. Ask him for referrals. He has investors. Why would he refer them to you? Because if you make a deal with him, he's going to make a legal fee on it. Real estate practitioners, people in real estate who are known to buy real estate. Here's one that I want you to be familiar with more than anybody else. You are small real estate investors. But don't let fear stop you from being one. I would hope that you would own multiple land or multiple real estate parcels. But you are small investors. Get into buying what you're preaching to other people to buy. How to connect with a small commercial builder investor. As I said, don't be reluctant to call them. Every builder and developer in your trading area loves to hear from real estate agents. Why? Because, oh, you're in real estate. You got a deal for me. So if you find an opportunity, and if you've done your research on who the builders and investors are, developers in the area, call them. Don't be afraid to call them. Just introduce yourself. My name is so-so. We're going to know you from Coldwell Banker. I know you're a builder in our area, or you're a developer in our area. I have a real estate opportunity. Would you be interested in looking at it? Simple as that. I bet you 10 to 1, 100 to 1. Very unlikely somebody will say, no, thank you, I got too much money. No. They all want to listen. Now, if you got the right product, come on over. They'll wine and dine you. When you go, you have to be prepared. But every developer and builder is real estate agent friendly. Don't kid yourself. Don't be afraid to walk out and say, oh, I'm too shy. What can I do? Only me. I'm going to approach this guy that's building $1 million, $2 million property. That's the fear factor. The fear of the unknown, how he's going to react. I'm telling you now, he will love to hear from you. I see you're building a beautiful house in our area. Is this sold already? Is it custom built, or are you selling it? I'm building it to sell. If I bring you a buyer that will pay your price plus my commission, will you work with me? What's he going to say? Well, if he says no,
He's crazy.
he needs his head read. Guaranteed, he'll say yes. Now, it's 10 to 12. This is an interesting section. Do you want to break a little bit, or do you want to continue? Who wants to continue? Who needs a pee break?
I'll just run to the wall.
Okay.
Lunch is on its way, so why don't we keep going?
Well, why don't we wait till lunch gets here?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on its way.
All right.
Okay,
So
so
here are some
lasagna and salad, okay?
non-fatty.
Did you make it?
Calorie-free. I'm sorry, free calories.
I'm gonna stop coming for you.
My wife has been cooking all day, so.
All right.
Sure.
All right, we're gonna have
There
our
goes Tanya.
participation section here. What is the zoning bylaw? Somebody please answer that question.
It's a law that goes into effect that allows you, tells you what you can and can't do with a particular piece of land that you are on or positioned in. Is that correct?
Very good. It's a policy statement by a municipality that regulates the use of land
Use of the land.
in their jurisdictional area.
And if it has bats that fly over it, you can't
It
use it.
specifies where you can build industrial, commercial, residential, mixed, so forth. And more importantly, it gives you the development criteria. What do I mean by development criteria? Every bylaw will have one of these. Maybe not in this form, but it will have this information. And we're talking about residential now. We're not talking about industrial or commercial or whatever. So in the residential area, you're going to find a section that spells out in the different zones that exist. For example, if you have Yonge Street, for example. On the east side of Yonge Street, it would be RH. On the west side of Yonge Street would be R1. That means what you can build in RH, you can't necessarily build
I know.
in R1. So each zoning, it would give you zoning categories. And each zoning categories has the development criteria applicable to that property. Now, Mr. Ford is saying he's going to overrule all that. That's great. But until he does, until that becomes law, a zoning bylaw is a tremendous tool that you must have if you really want to make a dent into the commercial transactions that are available to you in your trading area. Because you'll want to know what the minimum lot area is in an RH zone. Let's forget about that one, that's 4 hectares. Let's use our, let's use R2. How many is 500 meters squared? What does that equal to in square feet?
10,000?
Divide 500 by 0.3048 twice. Who's got a calculator?
Or is it times 10.76?
Could be. I don't use that formula, but you're probably right.
Isn't it 10,000 square feet?
The minimum frontage has to be 50 meters. That's an easy one. What's 50 meters? 49 point something, but we term it as, we usually refer to it as 50 feet. And the 500 square meters, we generally apply the 5,000 square feet. So your average lot in most residential, established residential areas has to be a minimum 50 feet frontage and a minimum 5,000 square feet. These zoning categories and these zoning standards are a must to have. They are a Bible for you to have. If you don't have it now, go to your computer, look up your trading area, and download the zoning bylaw and extract this information. Because as you drive around your neighborhoods, I'm going to teach you how and what to keep your eye open for. This one here is for Barrie. How many from Barrie here this morning? Love Barrie. This one here is for Newmarket. How many from Newmarket? Love it even more. This is one where I'm doing a lot of businesses now, the city of Brantford. And for those living in Barrie, or those living in Newmarket, major urban centers, yes, know your local trading area because there's a lot of opportunities in established neighborhoods in both of those cities. More importantly, these also exist in further rural neighborhoods or small towns or small hamlets. And you'll find that the prices in those are going to be less than they are in the city of Barrie. For example, or Medonte is going to be less expensive than Barrie is. What can I use for Newmarket? Newmarket is the center of the earth. You know, small towns, Zephyr, Keswick, those areas.
East Blueberry, Kensington.
Yeah, thank you. Those areas have prices which are less and more opportunities because what's happening? The wave of population is moving north. So as you go further north, the prices become a little more affordable. Learn to make one of those neighborhoods one of your trading areas. And you don't have to go personally. You know, in the olden days, we had to drive along the street, we see a piece of land, we have to run to the township, look up who owns it. When we find out who owns it, it's the number come, you gotta go to a lawyer, do a property search. Now you can do all this from the comforts of your own home. So I can't emphasize enough, those who are trading in residential real estate, to make this part of your business. Get this bylaw, hole punch it, keep it with you all the time. As you drive around your trading area, keep your eye open for things that I'm going to show you, things that we already covered, you know, in the candidates for the 3 units per lot, and also for the intensification areas around public transit systems. Now, this is going to be an active session. What I think we should do is have a small break now because we're going to hop down to the Geo Warehouse all of a sudden. And there's no link. Okay. Have you all got your
There's no link to
access
Geo
codes for
Warehouse?
Geo Warehouse?
I don't know what
Yeah, I want to show you
Oh, okay,
how
so what
we
is
use
this?
Geo Warehouse. It's an invaluable source of
You
information.
can go on.
And we're going to use some of the actual
Also
examples.
geography. So Geo Warehouse. Now I have a question for you, Pranok. How do I go in and find these particular zoning bylaw codes?
Okay, the question is how do we find the zoning bylaws?
Codes,
All right.
yeah.
So for example, in the town of Newmarket,
Yes,
you would go into the town of Newmarket website.
yes,
I don't know which heading, probably under planning and development.
okay,
Planning development? Yeah. Thank you. The easy way to do it is call your municipal offices,
yes,
ask for the planning department, and then just say, look, I'm trying to download the zoning bylaw, guide me through this. I do this all the time
okay,
in areas that I live in, and they're more than glad to help.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Websites in the city, you just download.
The other-
If you're a dinosaur like me, Rock.
You can even see like who's submitted
Well,
applications.
Oh, I know. But you know what I also did?
Okay.
I went to the new
right.
elected councilor and went down, went in through her.
Can you get me onto Geo Warehouse now?
Yeah.
I thought that was a good thing to do. I'm going to go watch it.
I think this is the form.
What we're going to do with Geo Warehouse, we are going to look for information, but what kind of information? And how to use the information tied to your zoning bylaw. You have to work with the zoning bylaw in order to make your scouring of a Geo Warehouse productive or meaningful. And we're going to talk about the best areas to look in. Now, for today's session, we're going to stay local. We're going to stay in your trading area. We're going to pick an area in Barrie that Crystal is going to navigate us to. And we're going to go through how to use Geo Warehouse to find opportunities that would be ideal candidates for 3 units per residential lot. We're going to look also at the valuable, I call it the golden nest egg, the corner lot, and how a corner lot can become an excellent investment opportunity for your client, and hopefully you'll consider it yourself. So, what we are looking for is single-family homes and single-family lots. We're not going to get into multiple family at this point in time. It's too complicated to try and condense it all into one session. And we're going to look for lots that must be able to accommodate 3 units that the province is now going to permit us to do. We're going to see where is it best to look at. We want to look in established neighborhoods. You're not going to find these opportunities in new subdivisions. We're talking about neighborhoods that are 50, 60, 70 years older and more. And we're also going to look at another best location is close to proximity of public transit stations. And why there? Because those are areas where the province is going to permit you to intensify. By intensification, we're talking huge increases in what you can develop on land. And they're looking a lot at rentals, and they're looking a lot at public housing. When all this legislation becomes law, you're not going to have to worry about putting anything in an offer for that land to qualify for what the buyer is buying for. In the meantime, and again, because of the amount of time that we have today, I'm not going to go through the conditions, but if you are in that environment and you do have some possibilities and you would like some guidance, please feel free to come in. Okay. Let's log on to GeoWarehouse. I'm going to log in, and then you're going to take me to your database. Okay?
Yeah, I'm on now.
Safari?
No, I just went home some morning. Mine was still.
Why is this?
I got back on.
Safari? Sorry. I thought it was like, everybody gets
Can you now take me
To my
to?
grandmother once, I was just being really sarcastic. And in Russian, it's also is yes, also. And she can't ever find your mouth.
Okay, everybody who has a laptop, please log on to your Toronto Real Estate Board website.
I love that.
Yeah, call me an asshole. She's about 80 years old, right? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, it takes us that. I think it's just a
They have, bike
So we're in Toronto, so are we going to Barrie?
This never slow.
You can log on to your, it might be faster.
Sorry?
You can go to your Wi-Fi with your hotspot, it might be faster.
This is a different language for me. That's
No, we're using
Mine's up
Okay.
too, Abby, if you want it now.
Yeah, you can.
What is that? Well, that's HD.
Sorry, Crystal, I'll just be a second.
I'm just grabbing my.
All right, everybody on this page? It's not going well. Okay, while Abby figures this out, can you go on to your Toronto Real Estate Board homepage? Okay, you click under properties, search for properties, then go to links. Down in links, you'll see GeoWarehouse. Click on GeoWarehouse. Once you've got it.
I saw her look at me like, I don't think
Actually, can you?
I've been listening.
Okay, go to search properties.
You can use this.
You can use the mouse.
Literally just talking about that.
Go to links,
Yeah,
GeoWarehouse.
Oh, you can't read.
So what I like is choosing an address that you know,
Okay.
in the neighborhood where you know that there's large.
But I just need.
All right, everybody on this page?
That's all.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, your laptop should be on this page, okay, please?
Yes.
We're ready. Okay, Crystal is going to give us an address in Barrie, which is an established neighborhood, which has older type homes, large lots, and we're going to do a search together. See what we're looking for. So what's the address you're going to put in?
Kenneth Avenue.
Tell everybody.
207 Kenneth Avenue.
Pardon me?
207 Kenneth Avenue.
207 what?
Kenneth.
207 Kenneth Avenue, Barrie, Ontario. Punch that into your... Okay, take me to the neighborhood, the old section of the neighborhood.
Property before, so that.
Right here, like right here is like all old houses.
All right,
Down
well,
here.
let's go to Kenneth Avenue. This seems to be a good candidate. Okay? Now don't forget, while you're doing this, you've got your bylaw beside you. Your bylaw is going to tell you what this land is zoned, R1, R2, R3, whatever, and it's going to tell you what the development characteristics are for this particular zone category. So we're going to assume, I could be wrong, that this is a 50-foot lot minimum frontage area, and the lots have to be a minimum of 5,000 square feet. Why I pick established older neighborhood is because the normal lot back 50, 60 years ago was around 50 by 150. Development centers have changed considerably since then. Now, that is considered to be an estate lot.
Yeah.
It's an 81.
81 by 200.
All right, so if you click on 207 Kenneth, you'll get this screen that shows you property report. Press on property report. Our computer is very slow.
Is he not on my hotspot? Check and see.
Who's the owner
It's
is?
computer.
Huh?
It's computer that is slow.
Yeah.
Is his computer that slow?
Yeah.
All right. Oh.
Okay.
All right.
Brett,
Meant
want to
what
let
I had to
everybody
say.
know we're
Okay.
back up?
All right, so
4.
3. 5,000 quarter lot in the bylaw. Everything, all the other lots beside the corner lot are called interior lots. Interior lots are generally smaller in requirement. So where, for example, an interior lot has to be 50 feet frontage and 5,000 square feet, usually your corner lot has to be 60 foot frontages and maybe 7,500 square feet. That is the usual formula that used to be applied province-wide. The other characteristic you have to know is that this is a serviced area. Water and sewers are available. If water is available and sewer not available, you'll never get a 5,000 square foot lot. You're probably going to need a half-acre minimum. But for our exercise this morning, we're looking at a corner lot that falls within the zoning category of 50 feet frontages and 5,000 square foot minimum. Theoretically, we should be able to make this parcel into 3 lots. First of all, it does give us this again. It also tells us that the lot is 81 foot frontage. Is that correct? Okay. So that's more information. Because if we do a lot that is 50 by 81, we're going to end up with 4,000 square feet. However, 50 by 81 is not going to be long enough to meet the bylaw standards. Because in the bylaw, you're going to have a minimum frontage requirement, a minimum area requirement, a minimum front yard setback requirement, a minimum side yard setback requirement, and a minimum rear lot requirement. The standard minimum rear lot requirement is 25 feet. The standard front lot requirement is around 20 feet. So if you add those two together, it's 45 feet. If your lot is 80 feet, that means you can only build a house that's 35 feet deep. Not very good. Your garage is going to be 20 feet. You've got very little room to build a house on. So this is the ideal candidate to assemble both the corner lot and the interior lot. If you go to the upper right-hand corner, you'll see, click on 209. Property report. Scroll down. This person bought that property back in 2011 for $200,000. But what we want to know is, a little more, Okay, right there. What we're told here is that this lot is 75 foot in frontage by 200 feet deep. Let's assume that we want to join those properties together. What would we have as a depth from Ashford Drive going east or west? Where we going? South?
I know, west side.
155?
Okay, thank you. So if we were to look at the potential of what we could do with this parcel here, we have, this parcel is, how many square feet is it? 15,000. The other parcel is 16,000. We have 30,000, over 30,000 square feet. Applying the simple law of 50-foot frontage and 5,000 square feet, how many lots could we make out of these two lots? 4? Yeah, that's 4. 6. 5,000 to 30,000 goes 6 times, right? Okay, so, and we know the minimum frontage is 50 feet. What is the length of 207? It's the same, sorry, it's 200. If we use the 50-foot rule, how many lots could we make out of Ashford Drive by combining 207 and 209 out of 200? 4. Thank you very much. So out of 2, automatically we know these are candidates to make 4 lots. But where is the value here? If, in order to make 4 lots, what do we have to do? We have to demolish this house and that house. That would be foolhardy. But let's just look at what we could do if we were to take this example and cut one lot 50 feet here by, what did we say, 150?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is a lot building, what is a lot worth in this area? A building lot? No, a building lot, just the lot itself. Okay, for those who don't know, this is actually very good. Find out what building lots are worth in your area, because that is a material piece of information that you need to make this kind of real estate transaction happen.
You need to find where building lot is.
Building lot, what is a building lot? Somebody define it.
Can vary about 450.
What is a building lot?
What it costs to live, raw land to build.
Building lot is a tract of land on which you can build a house or houses or a car or whatever. So a building lot is an independent parcel of land on which you can build something which is permitted under the bylaw. In our case study, we can build a single family home. And a building lot in this area here has to be a minimum 50-foot frontage, 5,000 square feet, and you can build a 50-foot, and you can build a single family home. The bylaw will also tell you how big you can build. Sometimes it's 20% coverage, sometimes it's 30%. The paradigm today is 40% lot coverage. So on a 50 by 150 foot lot, which is 7,500 square feet, if you go to the maximum, 40% of 7,500 is 3,000 square feet. That means your coverage can be 3,000 square feet. But now, what the province has done is giving us an added bonus. What can we do with this kind of an example? Build 3 units, right? Build 3 units. Okay, so that's if we only decide to do 1 extra lot.
Can't you build 4?
You're getting there. You're very, very anxious, aren't you? Okay, so if we were to take 1 lot off the back over here, from 200 we would have 150 left, right? Yes. Okay. Is there room, you think, that we can do 2 lots back in here? 2 50-foot lots, and still leave enough of a backyard for these houses here? Because by diminishing this land here, yeah, you're going to lose that swimming pool, but you're not going to lose a substantial amount of value in that house. That house is always going to have the major part of the value of the remaining parcel. It won't pay you to demolish that house. It's dilapidated and it's tear down candidate, but in this case it is not. So this type of an example, we want to keep the front 2 houses and look at the possible transaction 5 and transaction 6. So out of 2 parcels, you stand to make 6 transactions. And perhaps, question?
The second lot,
Second lot.
yeah. So if you are cutting these 2 lots into 4, where's the access to that? The
The
lot?
frontage is going to be an Ashford.
It's a corner
House
lot.
is gone.
But you're gonna have to have right of way.
No, no, no.
No, 'cause
The
it's
house
really
is always
straight
gonna be
across.
accessed from Kenneth Avenue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of them. We're gonna make 2 lots on the back, the front on Ashford Drive. So your
Oh,
access.
this, I
Yes.
don't know. Oh, okay.
Got it? Good question. Good question.
I have a question. If I have a 2 lot, is there a bylaw requiring, like, if I'm the same owner, one titlement, the limited by you only can build 3 unit, or you are as one owner, 2 lot, you can build like 6 unit.
You're jumping way ahead of the thing.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, the question is, if you own all 4 of these properties, first of all, if you do that, you've got to have all 4 of them different names. Why? Because if you do joining properties in the same name, what happens? They merge. Right. Okay, so we want to avoid that. So, just stay, this is a very simplistic thing. I'm giving you skin and bones today. To get into detail, we could spend a day on analyzing this type of situation. But this is something very easy for you to come across in your day-to-day residential real estate activity. In your trading areas, you will have established neighborhoods which have houses sitting on what used to be the standard type of single-family residential lot, usually 45 or 50 feet by 150, 120, and so forth. This is a typical example of how to profit with the knowledge of what you can do with lands that are now offering you development possibilities. Now we said, go ahead, Kristen.
That big lot there behind the 2 of them, that actually used to be 2 separate lots, and then they bought them and knocked houses down and they built a 7-story condo in there.
Okay.
Because that is actually an intensification nodule in there.
That is what?
It's an intensification
Okay.
nodule, that intersection, like, that you can't see in the map right now. But that corner right there, like, they rezoned it and changed the whole thing. So if there's an intensification nodule there, would that change anything for?
So then you've got to do the numbers here, okay? Because you've got 30,000 square feet, which is just between a half and a third, it's about a third of an acre. So now you've got to go look into what your height limitations are, what your parking requirements are per unit, many other things. We're not going to get into that this morning. We're going to stick to this as being simple, a single-family residential project. Okay? So we can talk about that person later on. So Crystal's example also falls into the other category of development opportunities, which you'll find, and that is lands within intensification zone areas. Now, right now, let's just say this is a residential area. So out of 2 properties, you've made 6 transactions. Everybody follow? Now let's say the builder doesn't want to sell the lot. He wants to build on it. So your agreement with that builder would be that you're the listing agent for those houses. Generally, people who are buying houses today, what do we say at the very start of this? Are not buying firm without selling theirs. So they'll probably buy a conditional. Any house that you allow your vendor to sell with conditional on selling the backup, one of the requirements should be, doesn't have to be, but it should be, if I was the listing agent and somebody wants to buy my client's house conditional, one of the conditions I would put is that that house has to be listed with us. Perfectly legal, nothing wrong with it. Because you're acting in your vendor's best interest. You don't want someone just to put their house up and tie your property up, and nothing happens. So, when you go through that process, and when you have that example, you have to be careful how you deal with conditional on selling a person, your client's house, that you don't blackball your client's house by allowing a conditional offer to go on there if the backup is unreasonable to be sold. It's what happens when a house is sold conditional.
All the action stops.
Yeah, it becomes like, another thing, for example. It becomes like used property. And people are reluctant to get excited about buying it, even if they like it, because somebody's already got it and just waste my time. So you do affect it somewhat negatively by allowing your customer to sell conditional. But the benefits of that happening today far outweigh the possibility. But to retain control and to continue acting in your seller's best interest, one of the conditions should be that that property backup is listed with you. If they've got a buyer's agent, perfectly fine to say, then we co-broker.
So what if we are acting for the buyer and this listing agent tells me, okay, I would do that if I list your client's house?
You're not that agent. You're the agent. Somebody comes to your property, that's where you're going to take that. If you find that situation, what I would say is you're going to co-broker. Has pros and cons, but if I'm acting with my seller and somebody wants to buy my house, my seller's house conditional, I want to retain control to make sure that that house isn't a sleeper and someone just isn't speculating. Does it work all the time? No. But, you know, there are exceptions, and sometimes, and probably in today's market, it may not, because we have a lot of buyer's agent and seller's agent and so forth. But I would definitely try to control it like that. Okay, so if this were, okay, all right. Do anybody see any other possibilities here?
I shaped
Yeah.
The one right across the street.
203, 207, and 208. There's 3 parcels there. If you do an analysis, now 203 is a rather odd duck.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be difficult to have a proper rectangular lot there. But if 207 and 206 have a lot of frontage, I would venture to guess that out of 3, you'll be able to make at least 4, if not 5. The other thing you can probably look at here, if this is an intensification area, ideal type of a site to do medium rise, or however the height level, what was the lot, 7 stories?
The 7 stories is behind, so I
Behind
know
you?
that the city there apparently wants like high density there, and then this kind of to become like medium density, and
Okay.
then like as you go on, go like smaller.
All
It's
right.
apparently what the plans are.
Okay, so we're going to be looking for 2 things. Right now, I want to sort of dive into looking for the benefit of finding corner lots and what we can do with it. So this area here, 203, 207, and 208, have the possibility for creating more parcels than 3 that we have right now. But as Crystal points out, it is an intensification area. This will be an ideal site to look into for an investor or a builder who would like to build, let's say, a mid-rise. Okay, do a little more searching. So you don't have to drive in your car, you don't have to walk the street. All you have to do is sit on Geo Warehouse, pick your area, and surf. Whoop, stop right there. Let's look at Big Pay Point and Montgomery. Now, I don't know these streets, but you will know your areas. You know, maybe this is not an area, but let's say that it's not an area of older homes. Is it an area of older homes?
Yes.
Okay, let's click on 545. Let's just expand. 545 is this one right here. Click on that, property report. Scroll down. Oh, he bought it in 201 for $93,000. Is he right, you know, to make a whopping profit margin here? Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Sorry, Bruno, did you say that the zoning was somewhere?
Sorry?
Did you mention that?
Yeah, the zoning is on here somewhere, like what the designated zoning is
So-
for this area.
Again, for the sake of time, you have to have your zoning bylaw, okay? You work with your zoning. 800s? Okay, so Crystal says that this is a regular house, for somebody just to buy it as a house, would be in the vicinity of $800,000. What did he pay for back in 201? 93,000. Has this been a good investment for him?
Yes.
If he lives there and he sells this, what does that mean for him? No capital gains, no taxes. How is real estate not a fantastic investment? Somebody who's good at math, figure out what the percentage gain is from 93 to $800,000. 1,000%? So if you go back up and you scroll at 547, we'll get the information on this manual right here, sorry.
No, no.
Bruno, couldn't you do,
Who's talking?
me, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry. Couldn't you make 2 just of that lot on its own by putting a
No.
house on
The
Montgomery?
difficulty is, the bylaw has more than frontage and area requirements. It also has setbacks. It has minimum setbacks on the sides, minimum setback in the front, minimum setback in the rear. The standard setbacks for the rear are 25 feet. The standard setbacks for the front is 20 feet. That's 45 feet. If the lot is 75 feet, you can only build a 30-foot wide house. Not very good to build a house. That would have any value,
So you're looking at a minimum of 100, really?
at least. Yeah.
Sorry, is it possible to build a semi-detached or townhouse in this area, or that will not be accepted?
Good question. Again, one of the areas of the bylaw which I haven't, for the sake of time, dived into. The bylaw will say that you can build single-family homes and it has to have 50 by 100 by 5,000 square feet. If it permits masonettes, townhouses, or duplexes, or semi-detaches, it'll have the requirement next door. But for this section, without expanding it, we're going to look at simply as a single-family
Okay, single,
qualifications.
okay.
But you're quite correct, and thank you for pointing that out. You will be able to build, let's say, semi-detached, in most zoning categories, it permits that. You know, you can permit, let's say, 2 plexes, 3 plexes, 6 plexes, semi-detached townhouses. But again, read the bylaw, and you'll become versed in that. For our workshop today, we're going to stick with single family. So let's look at number 545. Now, there's something suspicious here.
Yeah.
You paid $46,920.
I saw that too in 2020.
Lots of scam.
Why didn't somebody call me?
Previous owner.
I saw that. Go down below. Was it a family
It
member?
could have been a family member.
It's got a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Keep
a
going.
little more. Sales.
Yeah, family, yeah.
Godwin to Godwin. Okay, so probably a sibling, estate, whatever the case is. That's okay.
1985.
Yeah, Jason.
1985 to
Yeah.
now,
Karen.
that property has gone up.
Substantial amount. So Jason and Karen were both, Jason
All
was
right, let's go back.
Bought a share.
Okay, so this house also has 14,000 square feet. It has, go up a little bit. It has, 75 feet. So we know that if we combine these two parcels, we're going to have a depth of 150 feet. And we're going to have it off of Ashford Drive, and we're going to have a depth of 150 feet on Big Pig Point. Again, the houses on both these parcels, I'm going to assume that they're substantial and not financially viable to demolish. But with a depth of 150 feet, what is this assembly a candidate for?
The triplex.
A third lot in the back.
Third lot in back.
One lot back here, combining these two properties.
But do you have to have separate access to get back there too?
Sorry, is this the property? Okay. So the access, we would be making a lot back
Okay,
here.
okay.
This
Yeah,
way.
it's this on the street.
So we would end up with a lot 50 by 150 feet fronting on Montgomery Drive. If this lot is worth $800,000 now, taking 50 feet off it, it'll have insignificant impact on that value. Because it's rear land, probably not even used, probably a big headache to cut the grass and so forth. I mean, there is pride of ownership, and maybe they like to have a nice big yard and so forth. But to a reseller, to a prospective buyer, it's my contention that he would pay no less than what he would pay for the whole thing if we resell that lot after we cut off 50 feet. What's this lot worth? If the house, what's the new house selling for in this area?
800,000, then if it's 800.
Well,
Like brand new from the builder.
yeah, a builder, custom builder. We're talking $1.2 million, $1.5 million. Well, if the reseller's worth 800,000, the new house is right? Okay, so generally, a good rule of thumb, if you have a building lot and a brand new house that is in conformity with what's happening in the area, take a third of the value of the resale of the lot and the house together. That should be the minimum of what the land is.
Okay,
So if we're selling a house for 1.2, 1.5, 1/3 of that is close to $500,000. So if you paid $800,000 for this one, and similarly for this one, assuming the quality of the house is the same, and you create a lot back in here, what is your profit? What is your profit margin? the value of the lot that you're creating in the back. Is that a good deal? You bet it is.
How much does it cost to sever?
Almost not.
Good question. We're gonna get into that, okay? Very briefly, yes?
Related question. If you buy both of them on your name, they become one, right?
Yeah, you don't wanna do that.
Then
You
need
buy
to-
both of them, put one on your name, one on your son's name, one on your husband's name, and one on your boyfriend's name, girlfriend's name, whatever.
But when you want to stay with them, but then you want to stay with them, right? To create a third.
You wanna sever them to create a third lot, yeah?
How would you do that if it's not on your own name?
Two severance applications. Because by buying this one and this one, different names, to sever this lot needs one severance application. To sever this lot needs one severance application.
But you want to create it into one lot.
But then you put it in the same name.
Then you should-
Automatically.
Then you merge the new lots together.
So the same buyer applies to.
Steve, go ahead.
So the same buyer, the buyer applies both lots. To merge the lot.
Okay, that is planning, okay, planning process that you have to go through yourself. So you're not gonna buy it in the same name because they will merge it together.
No, I'm not talking about these two. Now, if you sever the
You sever the back of this one
and the
and the
other
back of this one, those two, one of the conditions of severance that will be imposed by the community adjustment is that they be merged.
Yeah.
Is it a good thing though for them to be merged, to be separate?
If you don't sever it,
If you have plans of severing it, is it better for it to merge first?
no.
No.
No, because you'll pay additional development charges.
Okay.
And the additional severance, because once the properties are merged as one, in order to make those two houses individual again, you have to go through a severance application. So that's, another $4,000 or $5,000.
If it was a corner lot, like the last one, where we wanted to sever the back ends, right, into two 50-foot lots, in that case, is it better to merge first because you're severing the corner lot into 3 parcels?
Again, the answer is no.
Okay,
Because if you merge the initial properties together,
right?
in order to have 2 deeds for the front, 2 houses,
Yes.
you require an additional severance application.
Got it.
You should do a project with us.
Pardon me?
You should do an ongoing project, like pick a
So-
program, it's right.
For anybody who comes across these opportunities and you want to work together on them, feel free to call and we'll guide you through it.
Okay, before
Once
we
you've done it
change-
once or twice, it'll be like second nature. Sorry.
Okay, so we have property A, property B, they're separate.
Yes.
So one is in Joe Blow's name, one is in Mrs. Blow's name.
Yes.
Can Mrs. Blow own Ron question?
You blew that one away.
Sorry, Adam. The second property owner owned A's property that was severed.
So the question
So
is
it's
this.
like a crisscross,
The question is, if we make one lot here,
2 lots.
Why are you making 2 lots?
So we're gonna we're severing the properties.
Okay,
So
but-
now we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
no, in this case here, we
can't do it.
end up with 3 lots. In the
I don't want 3
prior,
lots, listen to me. I don't want 3 lots, I want 2 lots. Let's just pretend.
so you want to go back to the prior example.
No, we have 2 lots there, right?
Right.
So I've severed them. So now I have 2 additional lots.
No.
Why?
In this case here, you're limited to what you can do in terms of lots, because you need 50 feet to make a lot. So if you take off 50 feet from 150, you're left with 100 feet depth, okay? So the houses on Big Point would be 100 feet deep after you take off the 50 foot at the most. In order to maintain these houses,
Bruno, you said that the town would make the severance conditional on those 2 lots merging.
oh yes.
So you would never have 4 separate lots, because the town would never agree to sever that in 4.
Yeah, we're not trying to create, if you can imagine this line here being severed. Okay, can we just sort of, I'll pay attention so we don't have to repeat it? I guess we can't pay attention. Okay. I'll wait till you finish.
And this was an intention was an item.
opposite of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, once everybody's finished, I'll start up again. All right, thank you. All right, let's use our imagination here a little bit. In this example, we can only create one lot at the back by joining the back of both properties together. Why? Because we need a depth large enough to be able to retain the existing houses, because those houses are going to be sold as houses. In the prior example, because we had 200 feet to play with, we can make two new 50-foot lots by combining the back of those properties together and still retain enough land to make the houses up front on the other street viable. Everybody clear? Okay. The question that was being asked is, can the owner of this lot own this lot and have it not be merged? The answer is no. Because as long as any part of two lots touch together in the same name, they merge.
With that, hold on, if it's in land titles, that's not necessary. It's if the old registry it does.
Most older established neighborhoods
Yeah.
are in registry.
They're in a registry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gotta, yeah, I agree, you just, yeah.
Or if they're part of a registered plan of subdivision, because we went through that with my own.
Yeah.
If they're part of a registered plan of subdivision, then
They won't merge.
they won't merge, yeah. But if they're in the old registry, they will.
If they're in the old registry, they will. Again, one of those things that we've cut out of this discussion because of today, but every situation has unique circumstances. I know I'm in your way, I apologize.
Can I ask another question? The process of severing the land or combining, is that, how, other than the cost of it, is that like a 1 month process or 6 month
All right,
process?
what is the process involved? First of all, there is the planning process. Not only the planning of what.
You have to do public hearings, like, do they have
Oh,
to
yes.
ask?
Every severance and minor variance application is subject to a public hearing.
It's like the 3 months.
Well, let me mention that field first, okay? Right now, the way the Planning Act works is that anything that you want to do to change the use of the land, whether it be minor or major or severance or an addition, whatever, that doesn't comply with the bylaw, is subject to a public hearing. What the Ford government is introducing is, in certain circumstances, those are being done. We don't know yet where those circumstances apply, okay? But if everything went according to Hoyle in today's situation, it takes about 3 months if everything is perfect. Now, if there's some objections from some residents or some departments and so forth, then you got to work on that. It might take you a long time, okay? If you get a favorable approval, usually the conditions are good for 1 year. And the approval will tell you, will specify what you have to satisfy in order for you to merge those. We'll get into that in a little bit if I ever get past this. All right.
Okay, and just to add to my father's point, I have a deal right now on options that I had on lands, and he's right. Like if it's not in the city or whatnot, and there's a river, because I think we're in the rural area, so if you sever the lots, it's classified as development, right? But I have these landlocked pieces, and there's a river going through 2 parcels. Well, half of the property on the one side owns half the river. The other half doesn't, but there's this strip of land that when they searched title went back 100 years that it was never, so we negotiated that they would quitclaim that piece over to us. That's a whole other area of discussion, so that if they approve the severance, everything merges automatically. And that's the only way that I was able to get this thing approved. So, to add to his point, yeah, in these rural areas, but the land registry still exists, it's not in land titles. It can work to your advantage though, in a lot of ways, right? It can work. Sometimes property owners think that their property has merged, and it hasn't. So never reveal that card until you know for sure. Speak to your lawyer on that note. Because I had a parcel at Caledonia and Eglinton, and as soon as I saw these 5 parcels, I thought severances all day long. And and they thought it merged into one parcel. But what I knew that he didn't know is that it hadn't merged. And it became a big advantage in my negotiations. So anyways, it's an interesting point.
Thank you. Yeah, again, I've had to sort of minimize
Yeah,
the
sorry.
information we deal with.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify the last point, it's a very good point, okay? If you find parcels of land, let's say that you have these parcels, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. One owner years ago started buying them and kept putting them in his name. You ever come across that? You will. No. Sometimes they never got proper legal advice, very concerned about merging them. I just want to own it, put it in my name. Well, those 2 parcels, or 4 or 5 parcels, became one. Here's the rule where you can subdivide those without having to go through the severance process. In Ontario, there's a law that every subdivision in the registry office that has been registered for 8 years or longer, that hasn't been built upon, and that it is in the same name of the original subdivider, after 8 years it merges back into one. That's law. In order for that law to happen, there has to be something registered on title decommissioning the approved plan of subdivision. If that bylaw isn't on title, you are legally entitled to get a deed for each one of those. I've had a similar that situation happen last year in Hamilton. The city never registered the bylaw to deregister the plan of subdivision. And it goes back to the original plan. Now, if you have the whole of a lot, in other words, if this was the whole of the original lot, and this was the whole of the original lot, and that bylaw was never registered by the township, in rural areas you'll find this. You are legally entitled to make 2 deeds. Now, if you have the whole of lot here and only a portion of this lot here, you're not entitled to make 2 sentences. I'm getting off track here. I'm sorry, but it's just a point I wanted to make you aware of, what to look for in your searches. Okay, so we saw an example where out of 2 lots we can make 4. We saw an example here, out of 2 lots we can make 3. So that's the magic of corner lots. I think it's 1:30. I want to get into another area of things. Is there any questions on this? And no question is not a good question. Any questions? Anybody have any questions on this particular part?
I don't understand. So when the final goal is a survey, become 3 part. So somewhere you have to merge them, does that mean? Or you don't merge at all?
Okay, I'm going to cover this in a few minutes, but I'll take you through it now. If you have this situation and you have two willing owners ready to sell to you, okay? You would buy this in one name, you would buy that in another name.
Yeah.
They don't merge.
Yeah.
The plan, the purpose of doing this is that you're going to cut off 50 feet from this lot and 50 feet from this lot. And out of those 2 parcels, original parcels, you're going to make a 3rd parcel. By keeping separate names of these 2 parcels, they don't merge. When you sever this parcel, this part of this, the back part of this one, and the back part of this one, one of the conditions of approvals by the municipality is that you have to merge these 2 properties, these 2 backyards, into one lot. So you end up with 3 deeds. Did I clear that up?
So you delay, but finally, when you final step, make them happen.
Final step is to end up with 3 lots.
Okay.
So the third one you're also putting under the third name?
Third, yes. Now, this one can be in your name, this one can be in your wife's name, and this one here can be in both yours and your wife's name.
And then they merge automatically.
No, merging, merging.
Never merge.
You don't want it to merge, right?
The 2 in the back would merge to be the 3rd lot.
The only parcels that merge are the back.
Yeah.
The lots in front will merge.
Yeah, but just because like the one name goes on to the 2 named one, it doesn't merge because they're different.
You don't want it to merge.
Okay.
A to C, like one.
Let's
lot,
say this is
one-
parcel A,
But you
okay?
can sell them separately, right?
Okay, let's spend 2 more minutes on this, then we're gonna move on.
Yeah.
This is parcel A, this is parcel B. Out of parcel A, we're gonna make parcel C. Out of parcel B, we're gonna make parcel D, okay? Parcel A and parcel B, the original purchase is gonna be this one in the husband's name, this one in the wife's name. That stays constant until we get an approved severance. One of the conditions of the approved severance is that if you, sir, and you, madam, want to make a lot together, you have to merge parcel C and parcel D into one lot. This still stays in your name, that still stays in your wife's name. These two can be in both your names. Clear? Let's go forward. Okay. Huh? Okay, now, we're going to spend a couple of minutes and we're going to go back into a severance process. Can you enlarge this again, please? Okay, I think if you zoom out, you can make it bigger. There you go, okay. So now, from the comfort of your own home, at 2 o'clock in the morning, MLS never sleeps. Agents never sleep. I do my best work in the quiet of the night. Okay, don't you all? Yeah. So, in those moments when you have free time, you're a Tesla. In those moments when you have free time, get on the computer, get on GeoWarehouse, get into the areas that you know are old established areas, get your bylaw out, become familiar with the zoning characteristics and the requirements, look for areas which immediately appear to be large enough. You know, if you go into this area here, you know, it's unlikely because it already seems to be small. But you can check it, you know. But scour the area that you're familiar with. And then I want you to leap out of your box. Pick a different town. Pick a different rural area. And start to learn that area. And you're going to approach this from two different approaches. Number one, for a client. More importantly, I want you to approach it for yourself. Now, we've been looking at corner lots, and that's an easy one to spot right away. Your bylaw will also tell you, no, the bylaw won't. Your official plan, sorry to confuse you, there's one other document that you have to become familiar with, and it's called the official plan. The bylaw is the implementer of the official plan. The official plan, today, the magic word is intensification. You have to learn, you should know where in your trading area the municipality has made it into an intensification area. And
How
then
can we find out?
so if you go to the planning department of your area, and you say, I'm so-and-so, I'm looking at, I want to know where in my district or in the area the city has enacted a bylaw to intensify. If the city has not enacted the bylaw to intensify land around public transit, don't worry, go after it. Because the province is going to overrule the municipality. Any lands close by to a public transit is a beautiful candidate for intensification. Now what you have to do is you have to find a client.
By public transit, you're talking about like a hub, like a GO station?
Go bus, Via Rail.
Not just a stop though, like a station?
No, like a bus, like a bus.
Well, I think what they mean, not a bus stop, no, is a GO station or a Via Rail station.
So like an actual station?
Yeah, because that's where people drive to, park their cars, get on the train and go down, right? Not a bus stop. It's not an intensification.
Okay.
Okay. That word intensification, it should be part of your Bible as real estate agents. You have to know the trading area and what can be done in there. Don't just stay focused on going after a listing or working an ad call or a sign call or whatever. No, become professionals. Learn these things because they can put thousands and thousands of dollars into your pocket. Any more questions on this before we move on?
When you go to the owners of those lots that you want to buy and sever and combine and so on, those owners know the value of the land and know what you want to do. So how like it's, how easy for
I'm
you?
gonna cover this once we switch back into.
That's a whole other topic.
But thank you for asking. Can you switch me back to the presentation?
Apparently the YouTube channel's working perfectly now, so everybody.
I want to emphasize one thing. When you start dealing in this type of real estate, it is utmost important, of utmost importance, that you define your role. You're going to make a decision, but let me get to that screen. Okay. Ready to go?
Yeah.
So we're going to look at the framework, and we're going to cover it in this section here, of a commercial lot transaction. Let's say you've identified an opportunity. Let's say you found those two lots that Crystal brought to give us the first example, okay? And you know that from your knowledge and from your research, those two properties, you can make six parcels. What are the things that we have to determine first of all? Determine if any of those two subject properties are on the open market. That's very important. Next thing, what are the development standards in the bylaw? We already covered that ad nauseum. Are the dwellings on the existing parcels close enough to the front to free up the pieces at the back? Because that'll have an impact on whether or not we can do it or what conditions are going to be imposed. And is there unpeded space on the adjacent lot to permit a second lot? Well, we've done those examples, and we know that there is, right? So I'm going to give you an actual example. Here's a lot that is 50 feet by 150 feet. Now, the lines here don't measure up. This line here is actually here, but if you go on GeoWarehouse, you'll find this is common the case, okay? The lines don't generally add up, and I don't know why. Maybe the satellite image and so forth, and when you overlay it onto the properties don't add up. But the actual lot line is not here, the actual lot line is here. So the first lot, we identified a location. This lot is 50 feet by 150 feet. We went and checked number 755 next door, and it also is 50 feet by 170 feet, too fast. So this is a candidate where it's possible to make 3 lots out of 2. One of the first things you need to do is to plan your approach to this. What you need is surveys, actual description of the property, what they actually are, because GeoWarehouse will tell you that they're 51 by 173, but is that always the case? Not necessarily. It can be 48, and it can be 145. Still probably a candidate, but it may not complement or it may not satisfy the requirements of the bylaw, which brings in another process into the foray, and that's called a minor variance. So if you have 49 feet as opposed to 51, and you have this lot, you will comply with the area, but you won't comply with the frontage. In order to make the frontage comply, there's a process called minor variance, which you apply concurrently with the severance application. The minor variance is relief from the bylaw, and instead of 50 feet, you've got 49 feet. So we know that these two properties, if we join them together, we can make an extra parcel back in here. All on side so far? Okay. So, in your evening hours, when you have, unimpeded time to yourself, make your plan. You should have, looking at the surveys of both. Now, where can you get surveys for properties? Does GeoWarehouse has the ability to give you surveys? Yes, they do. You have to pay for it. But if there's a survey on file, you can get it there. And if not, work with the GeoWarehouse dimensions, and we can actualize them afterwards. Prepare in your own plan a sketch of what you see possible. Then get a sketch made up. The sketches are best done by a surveyor. Because a surveyor, if you haven't got the survey, he has the means in which to find it. And if there is no survey available, he will do one for you. For the sake of our analysis today, we're going to say that we found the surveys. So we have the surveys for parcel A, and we have the survey for parcel B. And we know that by the bylaw, if we cut off 50 feet from parcel A and 50 feet from parcel B, and we will end up with a third lot in the back over here. Excuse me. Part of your plan to study the bylaw and see what you need as excuse me, minimum setbacks to the front, minimum side yard setbacks, minimum backyard setbacks. Excuse me.
Water?
I have it, thanks. Again, go to your bylaw and check to see if what you have on the existing complies with what is required in the bylaw. For example, if the bylaw says you have to have 10 feet setback on an interior, on a corner lot.
Does anybody have a mint?
Pardon?
Mint.
I don't have any, so thank you. If the bylaw says that you have to have on a corner lot 10 feet setback from the flankage road, and you only got 8 feet, well, then you don't comply. So what you do, you have to seek relief from the bylaw by way of a minor variance. Still doing the severance application. Thank you. Sorry, guys. So this sketch here shows you what you have to study and analyze as to what this project is going to be required. Will it require just a simple severance of both parcels, or will it require a minor variance? You also should do some analysis of what are the market prices. Geo Warehouse, recent sales, Toronto Real Estate Board, of land sales, builders in the area. You can ask them, they'll tell you. You have to know what type and size of house plan would suit that area. Because the proposal for severance, you're going to have to show compatibility. Now, a lot of old neighborhoods are going through a transition from old into new. And quite a lot of those neighborhoods already have a pattern of development that was birthed out of what the requirements were for size of house and so forth, and what the market will bear. In other words, if the new housing is selling, let's say, for $1.5 million, and it's around 3,000 square feet, you know, even though the law may permit it, you don't want to build a 5,000 square house to sell for $3 million, because then you're going to run into pushback on somebody who wants to buy a $5 million house, doesn't want to have it in an area where the houses are worth, wants to buy a $3 million house, doesn't want to have it in an area where it's only worth $1.5 million. So compatibility is an area that not only is important for you to know market-wise, but the approval bodies will also look at that. Is what you are proposing compatible with how development is progressing in this neighborhood? You have to know, you have to know what the assumed purchase price of those lots would be. Determine the amount of the development charges. How would you do that? Very easy. Pick up your telephone, call the municipality. See, I want to know what the development charges are for a new house in this particular area. They'll email you the development charges sheet, or you can download it. Exactly, or you know how to get it online. I don't know how to get it online, I just call. You also have to know, if you're going to make a new lot, and it's on water and sewers the area, what will you have to do? You have to put in water and sewer laterals to the lot line. You have to know what those costs are. Hydro as well. Anybody venture to guess what it costs to install a new water line, new service line from the rural to the new lot line? $40,000. So you have to, this is a learning curve here, okay? At the end of all that, you're gonna do a preliminary project cost. I apologize that this wasn't done in Excel. When we transposed it into this presentation, the lines went all over the place. But these are some of the cost categories that you have to figure out in doing a preliminary cost analysis. And you have to do this to see that if what you're going to do is going to be worth it. If you have a seller that wants to sell, if the house is worth 800, he wants 1.4 or 1.5, most likely it's not going to work. Okay? So you have to do all this and do your cost assessment. So you're going to have, for example, the cost of the corner house, the cost of the adjacent house. You're going to have your preliminary sketch. A surveyor is probably going to charge you $500 to prepare a proper survey sketch. And the importance of having a proper survey sketch is that if you get approval, and you don't work with a surveyor sketch, and let's say you have an area that shows 5,150 square feet lot, and you end up with a lot that's 4,950 square feet or 5,050 square feet, but not what you applied for, your approval will be null and void. Because what you're approving is what you applied for. So it's important to be accurate. So you're going to have also the cost of an architect, because when you make a submission to the municipality, they're going to want to know what you build on it. Now, this new legislation may change this, but that's been the norm. Your application, sorry?
How much is it normally?
So you're not going to do an actual plan here. You're going to do an elevation and a floor plan. So you can get away with about $1,000, $1,500. The application fees for severances and if minor variances are necessary. In the GTA area, the common cost of a severance application is around $5,500 to $6,500. Not cheap. If you're doing 2 applications, it's ×2. Okay. The minor variances are a little less than that, but not much. Somewhere between $3,500 and $5,000. And again, it's ×2. If you have a situation where there's a garage or a shed or something, that has to be shown on the application and that has to be demolished. So to demolish that, you're going to have, let's say, a building to be removed. If you have a lot of trees on this property, and I know that I'm giving a lot of information here, I'm giving you the skin and bones. If you have actual examples come up in your day-to-day affairs, please call me. We'll work through it together in much more micro way, okay? Whoops. If you have trees on the property, be ready, you have to do what's called a tree inventory plan. So you have to hire an arborist, and he has to identify all those trees of a certain caliber. And if you have any trees which are protected, you're going to have to protect those trees. Only trees that impede building will be allowed to be torn down. And if they are a black walnut, which is a rare species, the municipality right now has the right to charge the value of that tree. So you have to do a tree protection plan. Keep pushing on 5 here. And always allow something for unforeseen. You have to know again. Then you need a lawyer to prepare the deeds. How many deeds will you need? Out of the 3 lot, the 2 parcels that making 3, how many deeds do you need?
3.
4.
Yeah. Off the rear of these kind of examples, the value of the original parcel with the back cut off seldom loses any value. We're going to resell the adjacent original lot, and we're going to resell the new lot. And then we're going to have a total of all sales. Legals and commissions, we're going to charge 6%. Less your total project cost, what we just went through, and you come up with a total profit. How many commissions were earned here? The commission on the purchase of parcel A, commission on the purchase of parcel B, the commission on the resale of parcel A subdivided, the commercial of the resale of parcel B, and the commission on the resale of the new lot. Everybody agree?
Yeah.
Good deal or not for real estate?
Great.
Okay. If the remaining house is worth 800, if they're both worth 800, and the new lot, we said would be worth around 400 or 500. Just do a quick calculation. On the purchase, and let's say you do fully, both ends on all the purchases. On the first purchase of the first two, you're making $40,000, that's $80,000. You with me? Yeah. Then we're gonna resell the two separate parcels in the front, another $80,000. Are we there? How much is that? $160,000 so far. You with me? And we're gonna resell the lot, let's say for 400, 20,000. What's the gross commission we can make on this representation agreement? Not just the standard kind that you find on the Treb Real Estate Board. If you find these opportunities, call me. I'll share with you a buyer's agency agreement for this kind of thing here. You may want to enter into a seller agreement. One of you say, I want to act for the sellers. Sellers, you can use the standard form because you engage with them through listing agreements. If you want to act as a buyer, you qualify a different set of rules. And again, without getting into it now because it can be a whole session in this, live within the law. It doesn't mean that you have to spill the beans, that you have to put everything on the table. No, it doesn't mean that at all. It is enough to say, I am buying your property for investment purposes. I anticipate to make a profit.
You would say that without disclosing that you're a realtor?
No, you have to disclose that you're a realtor.
Yeah.
And part of your disclosure is, I am buying this property for investment purposes, intending to make a profit.
You have to say that?
Yes.
Why?
Because if you don't, you possess knowledge which they don't have.
Do you have to say that, Tanya?
You have to disclose you're a realtor.
Yeah.
You have to have a sign?
You don't have to disclose that you're doing it for a profit though. You just have to disclose that you're a realtor and that you are buying it. But that's your registered disclosure
'Cause
for
I'm in trouble.
acquisition or disposition.
Okay.
But under legal, you don't have to say that you're doing it for a profit, but you have to disclose.
You're more up to date on this, but in my,
You have to say it's an investment rather. On FinTrack forms, yeah. But that's for internal, that's not for public. So your FinTrack forms you will, which we'll be doing in Cameron one day soon.
I think my father really wants to make sure that nobody gets in trouble, so that's what he's
Yeah,
trying
no,
to-
that's fine, you should
Yeah,
not.
but I don't know that he has to go to the extreme that you have to tell him that.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows, as soon as they know you're a realtor, yeah.
listen, if a realtor comes to your house and he says, look, I'm a realtor, I want to buy your property. What's the first thing he's going to do? Why? We possess knowledge that the general public doesn't have. The law imposes an obligation on us. If what Tanya says is correct, and I never doubt his daughter-in-law. And you don't have to say that. If I were the one that was buying it, I would say exactly that. Say, I am a realtor, licensed in the province of Ontario to trade in real estate. I want to buy your property for investment purposes. Sometime in the future, I may make a profit out of it. That covers a whole range of protection because let's say I do this in a year's time. Let's say by next year, I've pulled this off. The guy comes back and finds out what I did. What's he gonna do? I'm gonna sue you. You had knowledge which you were obligated to disclose to me. Maybe you didn't have to. But if he just says, I'm gonna sue you and starts an action, what's gonna happen? You're gonna throw it into court. In order to get that dismissed, you have to show that you went above and beyond. In practice, in my opinion, in my experience, you have to show you went above and beyond. So by me saying, look, I'm buying your property for investment purposes.
So you always did that?
I always say that.
Even like, yeah?
Would you sign them on something?
Pardon?
Would you put as part of the contract?
Part of the
Or is
story.
it just verbal?
No.
I wouldn't do that.
The disclosure
Just
form.
put it on the disclosure.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, once you do a verbal, it's on the board.
No, in
Yeah, you don't
the
do that.
logo incorporating
by law.
No, it's very easy to say, look, I have some money to invest, I like this property, I like to buy it.
I've been to
What's wrong with saying that?
where it's not always good. Depends where you get it.
Anyways,
Look, the truth is that,
Just that you're a registrant.
the truth is that it's a, look, years ago, 20 years ago, I got in some trouble about not disclosing. So this is important, okay? So, and not handling it properly. So you have to disclose. That's the thing that, you know, when you're assembling property or working with homeowners, and you're a realtor, you're held in higher regard, right? So you have to be careful about this and how you do it, right?
If you have to question whether you need to disclose or not, disclose.
But if
That's
someone
it.
comes to me and
What if you
says,
purchased
I
those
wanna buy a
houses?
property, I wanna become.
What if you purchased those houses?
You're getting a little too creative.
I'm not gonna go there.
No, just ask the eligibility. My wife is interested in the property.
Well, just share related.
You just gotta.
Attention, please.
We are on.
We have to get through this.
Yeah.
The question is,
Right?
what if you purchase it using somebody else's name? God help you.
No problem.
By doing that, you're putting yourself in that person's clause.
Yeah.
If it's your wife, don't think that's to protect the custody.
Yeah.
Because if
So you
ever
go for a
divorce,
far
then-
cousin, right?
Pardon?
So you go for a far cousin.
Look,
Or a friend.
I believe this. I believe that if somebody wants to sell and you want to buy, and you fulfill your obligation by saying, look, I have some money to invest, I like your property, I want to buy it. In the future, I may, you know, I'm not buying it to live in, I'm going to rent it out, I'm going to buy it as an investment property. Once you say that, you disarm the person. You remove all that
Yeah.
quandary, why is he buying this, you know? Has he got oil here? Is there gold there here? You know, those are the things that go on in the person's mind. I believe, say more to protect yourself. Because if the public comes back and sues you and makes all kinds of allegations, you were supposed to tell me what you were going to do. You go to court. It's a 3 or 4 year. Let's move forward on what we do. So once we have, if you go back a few screens, you saw the sketch? Huh? Oh, the sketch? Okay, that's called a preliminary sketch. Before you apply for a severance application, mostly all the municipalities in the Southern Ontario have a process where before you apply for it, you do a pre-submission application to the township, to the town. A pre-submission is exactly what the words say. You're going to put together a pre-submission application on a prescribed form that they have. There's a fee. They'll set up a meeting. They'll circulate your proposal internally. They'll set up a meeting and give you their nuts and bolts. And you'll be able to determine whether or not they're going to be supportive or they're going to be against you. If you comply in every aspect, it's not a slam dunk, but you're way over the 70, 80%, because if they refuse, you go to OMB, or the land, what's it called now?
Tribunal.
The land tribunal.
Well, yeah, Ontario Land Tribunal.
Anyways, I prepare a pre-submission application with the municipality. I introduce the sketch of the proposal with full dimensions and areas. Be as detailed as you can be.
Question, Brooke.
Yes,
Well, the sketch, should it be done by a surveyor?
I would use a surveyor, because if you're off on what you represent, you say, I want to produce a lot that's 5,300 square feet, they're going to circulate that to the public and to internal agencies. If it ends up after you do a survey that you only have 5,100, they can take the position as your application is not valid. You have to resubmit because you weren't accurate. So if you have an application that you need 5,000 square feet and you have 5,200 square feet, just say 5,100 and you're safe. But if you say 52 and you have 51, you're not safe. So they'll give you a hearing date and they'll listen to your case. You make a presentation. This is what I want to do. The lots in the area are required to be so much frontage, so much square footage. It doesn't have to be a complicated presentation. You explain what you want to do. So you'll make a presentation outlining the merits of the proposal and why you feel it should be approved. and assemble some supporting evidence as to why it should be. What are, if there's some, do a search on the Geo warehouse and see if any other lots in the area have been developed in the same way. And if you have that, that's good supporting evidence. So you state how the proposal complies with the bylaw requirements. You may be deficient in some areas. You say, look, I recognize we need a side yard of 5 feet, I only have 4. I'll accompany my variance application with a minor variance application to get relief for that side yard. If you're in good relations with your neighbors, especially your adjacent ones, and they won't have any objections, I always find it advisable that when you want to cut a piece of property or sever a piece of property like we're talking about, that I go to the adjacent neighbors and say, look, whether I know them or not, I'm in this area, we need so many square feet, so many frontage and so forth. I have that on my lot, and I'm going to be applying for it to the township. But as a courtesy and to maintain good relations with my neighbors, I want to show you first. If you have any feelings on it, please let me know. If you don't find anything objectionable, I'd appreciate a letter of support. If you go armed with that, your chances of being denied are next to nothing. So when you have this pre-submission meeting, you're going to get a written response from them after your meeting, and they're going to tell you what you will need for them to consider a proper application and for the application to be complete. That's new wording right now. The applications that you do to municipalities, they have a standard of what makes them complete. And if what you are prepared to submit makes it incomplete, they'll tell you, with this application, you also need a minor variance application for such and such. The application that is submitted, you pay your fees. The town circulates it. They gave the circulating agencies a certain amount of time to give their comments on that. They'll prepare a staff report. With that staff report, they'll establish a meeting with the Committee of Adjustments, and that's where the public meeting is held. You go and you make your presentation in front of the public. They listen to the public input, against or in favor. Within 21 days, they are obligated to give you a decision.
How long does the public meeting take to get called?
The law says 30 days that it's circulated. Okay? And they have to have, I'm not sure what it is right now, if it's 60 or 90 days, but there's a time limit.
So my question is compared to like where you said before that you would talk to the neighbors. Would you alert the neighbors before you're doing something like
I
this?
would.
Yeah?
I would, because it's,
Because some neighbors are just want to be pricks right now, have that headache, the noise, or this.
If you were to come to me on one of your neighbors, I would appreciate the fact you're being courteous to me. I'm going to get your notice. Better if you disarm me before you get the notice. Again, my approach, but it doesn't have to.
About the presentation, who does that? I mean, who does the presentation?
Yourself, or you have an agent. I do all my presentations, and I do it for my clients as well. So, if your committee of adjustments approves it, these are some of the conditions you're going to find in there. There's going to be financial requirements, development charges, other fees and cost expenses, and believe me, they don't lose an opportunity. They'll put a condition about installing new services where required. You can expect a condition on demolition of any buildings that are on the new lot. You'll need a new reference plan or survey. The taxes have to be paid up to date. You have to advise them if there's any mortgages in there, because the mortgagees has the right to know what you're doing. I never disclose that. They'll want you to prepare a new deed by your lawyer, and those conditions can be 1 or 2 pages. Once you fulfill those conditions, you then apply for a new deed to be stamped, and you have a new parcel. The process realistically takes 4 to 6 months. Part of your application should also be a plan, and it doesn't have to be a full detailed plan, but it can be, let's say, a plan that shows what the setbacks are, a plan that shows what it's going to be on the inside, what it's gonna be on the outside. You're definitely gonna have one of these. It's called a grading plan. Show how you're gonna deal with surface water.
And who will prepare this plan?
So the architectural plan is generally prepared by an architect or someone who has a DCIN number, the last person who is licensed to prepare house plans.
What's the PCI?
Building,
They're certified by the
certified by the province to be able to
Right.
prepare house plans up to a certain amount of square foot. I think it's 9,000 square feet.
Oh,
Anything over and above that, you need either engineer or an architect.
okay.
I could be wrong on the 9,000, but I think it is 9,000. This is what you call a reference plan of easement. Once you have fulfilled all your conditions, one of those conditions is that you prepare a new reference plan of easement. So what a reference plan of easement is, you have to put new stakes on all the boundaries. Okay? What you're seeing here, for example, in this particular case, and it often is the case, that the township will ask you for a road widening if they plan to expand that road, and they never pay you for it. This is what's called a daylighting triangle. In the old days, they never used to put these, but today, if you want to create a new lot on an intersection, you have to provide what they call a daylighting triangle, so that if you're parked here, you can see the oncoming traffic. Makes sense. And once it's registered, you'll be given a number. From then on end, this parcel will be known as Part 1 on reference plan 2R8580. That's a legal description. All those plans. Part 3 and Part 4 will be merged, and that will be their description. Part 3 and Part 4 on reference plan 2R8580. So, unfortunately, I'm limited to giving you skin and bones, but I hope it's enough to get you started. My phone lines and my email is available to you to help you guide you through things. If you need assistance in finding buyers for any opportunity and you haven't got any, call me. I'll try to help you guide you through it, or we can even give you a buyer. When you find these opportunities, you'll find buyers a dime a dozen. But you have to, first of all, and I can't stress the importance, determine the role that you want to play. If you want to act for the buyer, make sure that you have a good buyer's agreement that locks him in into what your role is going to be through the whole process. You don't want to just settle for him buying the property and then he flies the kite and says goodbye, thank you very much, see you. No. Now, those agreements haven't been challenged in court, and most builders don't do that. You know why? Because if you bring a builder or an investor a good deal, guess what? He wants to promote the relationship. If you want to act for the seller, be transparent what you're going to do. And you have, a decision you have to make. You can probably get the seller's price that other agents can't, but don't know this information. Determine what you want, what role you want to play. If you want to buy it yourself, and I would urge you that before you bring it to decide either a buyer or a seller, that you explore the possibility of doing it yourself. You can do this kind of a deal with very little money. We can talk about how you do it. Not today. Any questions?
Now we're waiting for the next one.
What is the next meeting?
Okay, well, that's being planned. I can't say for sure, but hopefully within a month.
Thank you, that was really good.
Yeah, very much.
In closing, I'm reminded of a story. There was this cruise ship full of people, first and second level. The same captain loads his tourists back in the ship, turns the corner, and goes up this river that's infested with crocodiles. Infested with crocodiles. He gets to a certain point, he's about 300 feet away from the beach. He says, on a case system, ladies and gentlemen, we are in alligator-infested waters. But as you can see, there's a beach about 300 feet away. Anybody who wants to dare You jump in the water, you swim to the beach, I will give $1 million, but he has to make it whole. Silence. You could hear a pin drop. And suddenly, something is falling off the second deck. Everybody looks down, and then this guy, he's jumped in the water. Well, the alligators are looking at him, and they're licking their chops. And the whole, what do you call them, a herd, whatever, is after this guy. This guy is swimming for his life. People on the boat are sweating. The moral of the story. If you dream big, and it takes courage to dream big, but it takes more courage to push yourself to do it. I hope in all of you that you find that element that pushes you to do things that are outside of your box. Because if you do, we'll see you at the top. Thank you very much.